The start of the season was flashy and fantastic for Syracuse men's basketball, but ACC play has brought nothing but disappointment for the Orange. 4 straight losses marks the first time that's happened in the Adrian Autry era. So will SU's slide continue, or does Syracuse get back to its fantastic start? Well, on the other side, Notre Dame came into the year with a lot of promise and instead has left its fans underwhelmed. Disappointment on both sides means anything can happen, and we're here to break it all down. It's another edition of Cuse Countdown, and it starts right now. A new year, a new intro, and the same crew. John Boccio, Griffin, Marcy, Nathaniel, Cunningham, breaking down everything you need to know between Syracuse men's basketball and Notre Dame. But before we get into this one, we've got to go and hit the time machine, go back to the past. Syracuse fell to NC State 86-66. I mean, John, this was just a blowout in favor of the Wolfpack.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it was just a simple Syracuse collapse. And it feels like a story that we've seen a million different times before. But SU outscored by NCSU by 14 in the second half. And that's really all you needed to see from this one. It was just a classic 2025-26 Syracuse men's basketball game.
I mean, what a performance from Quadir Copeland, the school that practically kicked him off campus, and he comes and gives you 19 and 9 and 4 steals for NC State. And meanwhile, Syracuse's point guard went out there, went 2 for 12 in this game, got out-rebounded by 12 boards in this game. It was just really ugly. And again, just the 4th straight loss where you essentially gave up in the second half.
Yeah, this team essentially gave up, and that's why you see that 20-point game. You mentioned Quadir Copeland, his name not on the screen, but got his first game back against the Orange, had 19 points, was 1 assist shy of his 5th career double-double, while on the flip side, Syracuse, despite 41 points between Donnie Freeman and J.J. Starling, just couldn't get anything going. And Griffin, you mentioned something I think that was rather interesting there, was the fact that point guard Nathan George went 2 for 12 from the field. That's just kind of gone throughout Syracuse's inconsistent shooting problems, not just from the field, but particularly from 3. Sometimes Tyler Betsy goes out and nails 5 triples, and Nate Kings can do the same. Other times, they couldn't hit water on a boat. I mean, Griffin, this is a team that is so inconsistent that you don't know what team is going to show up on game day.
Well, Nate, it's pretty simple. That's what happens when you don't run an offense. There's no offensive sets on this team. It's everyone goes one-on-one. You're going to have your bad days shooting. There's no reason for it to be consistent because there's no consistent plays. It's just a high ball screen on occasion and then a bad shot. That's all this offense is. So there's no reason for them to have any sort of rhythm to succeed shooting.
And Nate mentioned it, how these guys off the bench can come in on occasion and shoot pretty well, but then you have other games like Boston College or NC State where against BC, SU's bench scored a combined 2 points. Against NC State, they score a combined 12. I mean, it's stuff like that that'll never, ever in a million years win you a basketball game. So it is primarily a matter of, okay, who's going to go out there and actually hit shots for once? It's also a matter of who's going to go out there and take them, because you had a game like NC State where Nate Kings only shot the ball 3 total times, and he's been one of your most consistent guys.
And Nate Kings has been really impressive at times, and other times he just kind of disappeared. One of the things, though, is that especially when you're not shooting the ball well, is you grab the misses. That was something Syracuse did a lot, especially in the non-conference slate. But recently, since conference play has started, the rebounding has just been really poor for Syracuse. John, is there a reason why this Syracuse squad just can't seem to grab misses, both on the offensive and defensive side?
Well, something interesting that Nate George said after the NC State game that I really picked at was the fact that he said we need to get back to making multi-effort plays. And that's exactly what you're not seeing in the rebounding column right now. You're not seeing them make a second or a third effort to try and grab, especially the offensive boards where they were just embarrassed against the Wolfpack. And I think even past the effort itself, something else that sticks out is, wow, it's almost like you won't succeed on the glass when your big man is 6'9" and your backup big man who's 7 foot just happens to be a Cuse, who is pretty much just a liability whenever he's out there.
Yeah, these rebounding problems, they continue to be a problem for the Syracuse squad. And I mean, John, Syracuse needs to figure them out because the bulk of their schedule just keeps getting harder.
Absolutely, and Notre Dame's a pretty solid rebounding team as well, so that's going to be a big thing to watch out for in this upcoming matchup between the Orange and Fighting Irish.
Well, Syracuse, they need to figure out those rebounding problems. So how about we put on our stethoscopes and we try to be doctors, if you will. Griffin, you took a little trip over to the wall. What you got?
Thanks so much, Nate. We can talk all we want about rebounding, but let's actually roll the tape and show you the problems with what's going on in this game right now and how they're struggling to rebound. It's plain and simple. You just have 4 guys in here. Nobody's making the right plays. No one's out taking the effort. Right here on this play, you have everyone clashing glass. Your guys are ending up underneath the basket. Nobody is out there doing the right job. Look at this play right here. Stop it right there. So you look at this. There's a second guy right here, 2, 3, 4 players right here, and essentially 1 Miami rebounder and a shooter. And guess what? Roll the tape, sees what happens. You got that? They get their own rebound and a putback. Nobody is there putting a body on anyone or blocking out whatsoever. Rebounding is very simply an effort skill. You need to put a body on a man and go get him and push him out of the lane. There's all this talk. You have to put some action out there on the floor.
Syracuse just clearly not being physical enough on the inside, and that's something that this Orange squad really needs to eliminate when it comes towards this Notre Dame team, because defensively they really haven't been able to stop much of anything at all, especially in conference play. And this is a Notre Dame team that, although they've struggled to start the year in the ACC, can pour it on if they get hot. They've put up 90-plus points in a pair of games so far this season. So, Griffin, if Syracuse can't show up defensively and play physical like you said, it's not going to bode well.
It's not a recipe for success. You either get a stop and get a rebound, or they just half the time don't even get a stop at this point.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it has been a huge defensive struggle all the way around on defense. We've seen it. We've seen the numbers time and time again with how poor it has been on the defensive end. And if you want to talk level 5 energy, well, Syracuse really hasn't had much of that.
Not a...
Yeah. It's been a problem all season long, especially in ACC play right now, where you've lost 4 in a row. What happened to this whole structure that you guys had in non-conference play, where we were just allowing 50, 40 points a game, top of the country? That's not what you've been seeing a consistent effort from right now from Syracuse.
That defensive effort, it's really been lackluster, to say the least, over the 7 conference games. So, John, maybe there's a little bit more that you can break down as to why Syracuse has struggled so much defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Griffin showed you a little bit about why the rebounding has been poor. Now let's show you why the defense has been just about as bad. Let's see it. First off, we start with this NC State game, and this is something that just cannot happen. NC State, the 9th best shooting team in the nation from deep, and it was as simple as a kick out and an and 1 3, and then on this play, they just get burnt. Nate George gets caught in no man's land, and this one might be the most egregious of them all. Quadir Copeland just walks to the rim. Tyler Betsy was nowhere to be found, and you'll see this one again. Where is Nate George to be found? Because I don't see him as part of the play. You've also got this one down low, clear lane for Quadir Copeland. It's inconsistencies and miscommunications all around. Also just a blatant lack of effort on attempts like that, where you just got to know your matchup, and, well, Syracuse just clearly hasn't. All right, that's all we've got for now here on Cuse Countdown. We'll take a short break and step aside, but once we come back, we've got Fight Night. We're choosing your fighter. You won't want to miss it here on CC.
Down rolls on, and these guys, they had a little bit of some time at the wall. I figured I'd come over and join them. John Boccio, Griffin, Marcy, Nathaniel, Cunningham. We continue to break down everything between Syracuse and Notre Dame, but it's time that we have a little bit of fun. You kind of beat me to it there, John, at the end before the break, but how about it's time that we choose our fighter?
Choose your fighter.
All right, it's pretty simple. I'm going to give these guys a prompt, and I want you guys to pick one of these Syracuse basketball players that you think best fits that prompt. We're going to start off first with the ball handler, the point guard, arguably the most important position on the basketball court. John, I'll start with you. Who do you want as your ball handler?
Look, we've seen the time and time again, Nate George just can't come through for Syracuse, and that's why it's a pretty simple selection for me. J.J. Starling has to be the primary ball handler for Syracuse moving forward. We've tried it all over again, and we're done with it at this point. Clearly, Nate George does not have that type of X factor in him, whereas J.J. Starling is the guy that can be the ball handler. He can go and get you a bucket if you want. He can also set it up for his teammates. We saw Starling average nearly 20 points per game last season. Where did that go?
Well, John, I agree with you that Nate George hasn't been perfect, but at the end of the day, if you put J.J. Starling on the ball, you're going to lose a lot of his scoring capabilities because you have other responsibilities, and we are very aware at this point in time that the scoring is a bad option for Syracuse, so I'm taking Nathan George to stay on the ball as the ball handler for this team. He just needs to very simply step up, and it's not going to help by taking him off the ball. If you take him off the ball, you're just going to be in trouble.
Yes, the guy that if you could flip his assist to turnover ratio, it would look better.
I'm not
that's
saying
the
he's
guy
the
that
best
I want.
option. It hurts JJ.
It's an unfortunate situation for Syracuse because just like Jaquan Carlos was a year ago, unfortunately Nathan George putting up similar numbers. But enough with the starters. How about we go to the bench? You also need to have guys that can score outside that starting lineup. So Griffin, who's that first guy you want to come off, that sixth man off the bench?
For me, Nate, my first guy is going to be Tyler Betsy. He's been some really good, strong performances so far this year, and he gives a different look to the front court because right now it's been a lot of William Kyle and Donnie Freeman, which is very limited in what they can do, and I think Tyler Betsy expands the offense a little bit more, spreads the defense out a little bit, makes more room for your other guys who want to drive, like Donnie Freeman. He gives more room in the paint if you have another shooting threat on the outside. He's probably the most consistent shooter for this team.
Well, you see, consistent shooting doesn't make you a sixth man. You know what does? A spark plug, a guy that can control the offense himself, be that replacement, and that's exactly what Kiyan Anthony has been for Syracuse so far, especially in this most recent stretch. Kiyan has been popping off in certain spurts. He was probably Syracuse's best player against Miami, which was a shock in its own right, but Anthony's scoring numbers may not be the highest on the season. We've seen struggles in and out. However, in this recent stretch, Anthony has been pretty reliable for Syracuse, and he's been an overshadowed piece, a guy that can handle the ball himself, create his own shot, and make it at times.
Nothing lights up a team like 25% three-point percentage, but
Listen,
lights up a
Anthony, he's
team
got
like
big shoes to fill, trying to fill what his father did back in 2003. But nonetheless, you guys need one person to take that final shot, ice in their veins, your go-to guy to get you a bucket. John, who you got?
Shouldn't even be a question, and I'm surprised that I even have to say this. It's Donnie Freeman without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, the guy just put up 24 points. He was the only player that could do remotely anything for Syracuse against NC State, and he's been pretty much the only guy that can put the ball in the basket when SU needs him to. So I think the answer is pretty clearly Donnie Freeman. I mean, he's the only one averaging close to 20 points per game on this Syracuse squad, and I mean, he's probably heading to the NBA next year for a reason.
All right, Donnie Freeman's great and all, but he relies too much on his size, and against more Power 5 teams, he's going to match up evenly against. You know what J.J. Starling does that he is the X factor is that speed and quickness that he can create his own shot no matter who he's facing, tall or small. That's why I'm easily taking J.J. Starling just to get me one last basket at the rim. That's usually what they do when they need a quick one.
Both these guys have proven that they can score when they need to. Now they just need to put it together for a full game against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Well, we've come up on another break here on Cuse Countdown, and on the other side, we're going to talk about that Fighting Irish squad, what has happened to start conference play for them, and what they need to do to pick it up. Don't go anywhere. Cuse Countdown rolls off.
My house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. the parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
We've still got another squad to break down here on Cuse Countdown. Griffin, Marcy, John Boccio, Nathaniel, Cunningham. This time we're switching pages over to the Fighting Irish, who have started ACC playoff a little bit worse than Syracuse. Somehow that's possible. I don't quite know how. But the Fighting Irish have only won 2 conference games, Stanford and BC. A team that beat Syracuse. John, it's really been a poor start for a team that had a lot of promise coming into the year.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about him in a second, but the loss of Marcus Burton has really hurt this Fighting Irish squad because the offense has just been nothing but dormant. They average just about 72 points per game. That's bottom 3 in the ACC, third to last to be exact, and that's what leaves most to be desired so far for this Fighting Irish squad. When you can't put up a high-powered game on offense, it's really tough to compete in a conference that is really stacked this year.
Yes, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games, and it's really been a struggle to have some sort of consistency on offense. Shrewsbury's great, but he's more of an off-ball guy rather than having to run the point. So it's been a struggle for them and just not consistent, viable offensive options around him. That's why you see they've struggled so much on offense without Marcus Burton.
Well, everything that this Notre Dame team has done this season, especially in ACC play, it's really been a struggle, except for that one stat that you see there in the middle, the rebounding. For some reason, a team that played a bunch of non-conference games couldn't grab a board. And then all of a sudden, the teams at the Atlantic Coast Conference came to town, and they decided they were going to out-rebound them all. I mean, Griffin, how does a team just turn a switch like this and decide they're going to do something Syracuse can't and just clean up the glass?
To me, it just comes down to the basics. It's all about effort because you know what? When Notre Dame has only one player getting over 4 rebounds a game. He's 6'8". That's called effort, putting your body on the line and going to grab the basketball, and that's why they're so successful in conference play. How it all of a sudden randomly started in conference play, not in non-conference play, that makes no sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's so funny to me how a team could, like you said, Nate, just flip a switch in a matter of an instant. But that's exactly what Notre Dame has done. When it gets to conference play, you have to become more physical, and that's exactly what Shrewsbury and company have done throughout the start of ACC play, and the rebounding margin has been oh so evident throughout this season.
That rebounding margin, Notre Dame, one of the only teams to have a positive rebounding margin in their favor in conference play. They're out-rebounding the teams by almost 5 boards a game. But this is a Notre Dame team that, like I mentioned, had a lot of promise coming into the year, like you mentioned, John, because of Marcus Burton. In the absence of him with a left ankle injury, a guy that was averaging 18.5 points a game, 4 assists, he has really hurt what this Fighting Irish team really could have done.
Absolutely, and if you guys think back to last season when Notre Dame took on Syracuse inside the Dome, that was the Marcus Burton versus J.J. Starling show through and through. Each of them had more than 20 points on the game, and Starling led a huge comeback, but every time you thought Notre Dame was out, here comes Marcus Burton back again. The guy is an absolute monster and has been for Notre Dame, but an unfortunate injury has cut his timeline a little bit short all the way back on December 10th, so it's going to be interesting to see how Syracuse adjusts to a Marcus Burton-less Notre Dame. But, I mean, the guy was averaging almost 20 points per game in his first 10. It's a tough break for the Fighting Irish.
This is just so underrated about how much this can affect this team. Takes so much more pressure on Shrewsbury and Harrelson, and you know what? It just makes it so much worse for Notre Dame to have without their top option and just have to create their own shots without their best shot maker and shot creator.
Well, the absence of Marcus Burton has put a lot of stress on Jalen Harrison, but it's also put a lot of stress on Braden Shrewsbury, who's one of the best three-point shooters in the ACC. He hits the triple at an above 42% clip. But on Syracuse's side, there's Nate Kings, who coming into this year shot the three ball at a 44% clip. So John and Griffin, that's a perfect way to get into this week's marquee matchup.
Welcome inside our marquee matchup where you said it, Nate. It's Shrewsbury and Kings coming at each other. I've got Nate Kings to win this matchup, and I will show you exactly why. Let's take a look at it. All I need is one play, and one play only, and it starts right here. Nate Kings all the way out on the right wing, bang. Got him. We all know he can knock down the triple at an insane rate, and guess what? Here's another kick out three, bang. Got it. Nate Kings is absolutely automatic from downtown, and he can get used off the dribble. It's plays like that that make Nate Kings so special. Is obviously a three-point specialist, can drain him from pretty much everywhere, but the bigger part of his game is even when he's coming off the dribble.
You know what? He can come off the dribble a little bit, but nothing like Braden Shrewsbury. Let's roll the tape and see how much he is going to dominate this matchup. You see the biggest thing he does, move off the ball. Now, how about moving that guy away from him? Being physical with the basketball in his hands, completely threat from deep. One pump fake has a guy sliding to the floor. Again, these pump fakes, and he finishes over two people. Such a viable three-point threat, and it causes so much space for others. He can break guys down with the dribble. Syracuse does not have an on-ball defender that can handle Braden Shrewsbury, especially with the off-ball movement he brings to the table. Syracuse is going to really struggle in this matchup containing a guy like Braden Shrewsbury. There's no way they can do anything like that. All right, that's enough for us now, and we're going to be right back here on Cuse Countdown. But when we come back, we'll be breaking down the ACC standings and what's ahead for Syracuse men's basketball.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
We're jumping all around the studio as we wrap up shop here on Cuse Countdown alongside John Boccio and Griffin Marcy. I'm Nathaniel Cunningham. Before we get back into the X's and O's of Syracuse versus Notre Dame, how about we take a little bit of a big picture look and look at the whole ACC standings. All of those squads that you see up there, and what about that highlighted team down at the bottom? Syracuse set 3-5 in conference play, John.
Yeah, I mean, it has just been rough sledding for SU, almost like the 22 inches of snow on the ground are really getting to the orange throughout conference play. And I think the most shocking thing is just the simple fact that Syracuse men's basketball has lost 4 ACC games in a row. If you were to tell that to a Syracuse fan 5 years ago, they would have called you nuts, they would have called you insane, they might have thrown you down Krause Hill and just let you fly. They don't know what would have been going on if Syracuse were to lose 4 ACC games in a row, but now that's just the reality of it. So it is tough to see, but that's just the way it is.
You know, it wasn't long ago when that graphic would have said that Syracuse was 3-1 in ACC play, and just to see them completely fall off has been such a disaster. Is a real shame for where the program's at right now.
And this Orange squad also has a game against Duke later this season, a pair against North Carolina and Louisville as well. So a lot of tough matchups with teams that are up on that ranking list. But let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Orange, and I mentioned it right there, that North Carolina game. But more importantly, the fact that it's a quad 1 game, a whole lot of quad 1, quad 2 matchups. And then how about California, the return of Chris Bell, Griffin?
Oh, quad 1, quad 2, it doesn't matter at this point in time. The season is essentially No matter what you do in these games, you pick them all up, that'd be great. But there's not enough you can do to save this season at this point in time. So it'd be great to pick up these quad 1, quad 2 wins. But you know what? Chris Bell come back to the Dome. Maybe he gets a little Quadir Copeland revenge, because I think a lot of those guys, when they left the program, left with some animosity. Copeland clearly did. Chris Bell very much likely has as well.
I mean, there's a reason that Judah Mintz was tweeting out about how Syracuse didn't give Quadir Copeland a fair chance, and how did we let Qua walk? I mean, all of this stuff about what this program has done to certain players has kind of come back to bite SU in the butt.
Yeah, and Chris Bell is somebody that the Syracuse squad has to look out for, because he was a guy that early on in this season was averaging almost 20 and 5 a game. So it's not some pushover or the guy that couldn't hit a triple when he was with the Orange. All right, let's bring it back towards Syracuse and Notre Dame. We're wrapping up shop, so we've got to wrap up with our keys. John, I'll start with you. What does Syracuse need to do to snap this 4-game losing skid?
Well, you know what, Nate? We've heard Autry talk about it. We've heard players talk about it on a day-to-day basis. Syracuse needs to get the edge back. We saw it at the beginning of the season, and while the competition was a little bit worse, to say the least, Syracuse still was playing like one of the better teams in the nation. Defense was at an all-time high. You were one of the best scoring defenses in the nation for about 3 weeks or so, and since then, it has all gone right downhill. And that is why Syracuse needs to, quote, get its edge back. Just like Adrian Autry said after the NC State game, we lost it on defense. We need the level 5 energy. Use all the buzzwords that you want. Syracuse has lost all of its momentum on this season. If you want any resemblance of happiness in this SU fan base, you need to get the edge back on defense and offense.
See, I just have no confidence that this team will be able to do that at this point in time, because they've given you no reason to. They've consistently fallen flat. You might get 30 decent minutes, but the final 10, it seems like they're going to collapse every time. But, over to my key.
30 would be impressive, honestly.
Yeah, it would be nice. 40 would be even better if possible. But
I don't think that one is possible.
Nothing too crazy. All right, my biggest key to this game is find some defensive discipline. It is okay if you get beat on a good shot or a player is better than you. They got 5-star Jalen Harrelson on the other side. Braden Shrewsbury is a good player. It's okay if they hit a shot in your face. It's okay if they just are not stoppable in that one day in time. But what is not okay is consistent defensive lapses, whether it's off the pick and roll, nobody communicating, go over the screen, go under it, switch it, do something. Don't both of you do the same thing. There needs to be some sort of discipline on this team where you're communicating on defense, rotating in the right spots, so you're not just giving up wide open, easy layups.
Well, defense wins championships, Griffin. But if you can't score, you're not going to win as well. This is a Syracuse squad that needs to figure out some sort of offensive identity, because just giving the ball to Donnie Freeman, it's not working. J.J. Starling has a good game, and the rest of the squad goes quiet. There's a whole lot of problems with this Syracuse squad, but that's neither here nor there. How about we get into what we think is actually going to happen when the ball hits the hardwood? Griffin, I'll start with you. What's your prediction for Syracuse and Notre Dame?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses in a row. I think this one's going to be a close one, but it's going to come down 71-66. Notre Dame is going to win this game. And one of the best parts about being Syracuse is getting to play in the Dome. And right now, I don't think the Dome is going to be any sort of home court advantage for you. I think the fan base has gotten very, very close to the term apathetic, which is the doomfall of a program. So I think you've shown nothing to have instilled any sort of confidence for your fan base or us in this game.
Absolutely. I don't know if there's ever been a time where there has been just as much pure outrage in this Syracuse fan base, because this team has hit rock bottom. And they say that the only way to go from there is up, but I feel like there's a little bit more digging that could be done. That's why I say this one's going to go down as a 78-72 loss for Syracuse. Notre Dame takes it home in the JMA Wireless Dome. I mean, look, Syracuse is going to get out-rebounded. They might get out-efforted, if that's a word, but that's probably going to be the reality of this situation. So I think the Fighting Irish come out of the Dome with a big win in conference play and a nice way to turn things around on their season.
I think you both bring up some pretty good points there, but I think we have to remember there are some good players on this team, and they can turn it around. I think Nathan George has a little bit of a revenge game, and say what you will, but I think Syracuse actually gets it done. Give me 76-71. The Orange come out on top. Last week, The 3CC guys agreed. This week they're disagreeing. Somebody's going to go up on that prediction list. Either way, that's enough from us here inside our CitrusTV studio for the second week of Cuse Countdown. From Griffin, Marcy, John Boccio, from our entire production crew behind the scenes that make everything we do here happen, we say thank you so much and have a great night.